Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. So glad that you chose to join us today. Hey, if you're listening to this on podcast, watching it via television, YouTube, or Facebook Live, or whatever, I just hope that today you're going to be so outrageously blessed by what I'm going to share with you. As you know, a little while back, my husband and I were in Antarctica and also Buenos Aires, Argentina, Mendoza, Argentina. We were in Colonia, Uruguay, as well as Santiago, Chile, and Valparaiso, Chile as well. Such an outrageous and amazing experience that I hope you have somewhere on your goal list to actually go and experience. I also believe that it's times when you set yourself apart and go and do something that's unusual, out of the norm. You go to a different place, you hear a different language, you taste different foods. You kind of get out from the cloud that you currently live in, and your mind can actually start to open up a little bit, and you start to see things from a different perspective. And I had, when I left down to Argentina, I had looked at how much more of the Bible that I had still left to read. And so then I divided it. I was like, I gotta finish this. So I finished my 14th time through the Bible, which I believe is the best success book ever written. And while I was down there, I was reading like 6 pages a day. Do you know that if you should actually grab the best success book ever written, and you should count how many pages there are and divide it by the number of days in the year, and that will give you the number, and in most cases it will take you like 3 pages a day to read the entire Bible in a year, cover to cover. And or if you want to do it in 6 months, it's 6 pages. If you want to do it in 3 months, the fastest I've ever done it was 74 days. I think I was doing like 15 pages a day. Oh my gosh, it was like such a rich time. So I've begun again on my 15th time through, and I'm really super excited about the things that I'm learning. Some of it again, and some of it like, oh my gosh, it's like talking to me exactly where I need to hear it. So I believe that if this is your very first time joining us, my name is Dani Johnson. I grew up on welfare in a violently abusive, drug-infested atheist home, molested from the time I was 3 until I was 16 years old. I moved out of the house at 16 because I was done with all the abuse. I was not the only one being abused, my poor mother and my 2 sisters also. I grew up also on, as I said, welfare. I ended up pregnant at 17. I hate saying that, ended up. I got pregnant at 17. Not a good choice. That was not wise, which then I made the most horrific decision of my entire life. And then ended up starting in business at the age of 19. Was homeless by 21 and married to a guy that I knew for only 7 days. And that resulted in $2.03 to my name and a $35,000 debt, 50 pounds overweight and completely homeless, and him skedaddled out 3,000 miles away, living now with another woman. So I started a business from the trunk of my car in a payphone booth, and within 2 years, I made my first million. Today, run 2 multi-million-dollar organizations. I do not take a salary from either one of them, and I don't touch the profits from them as well. And one actually is a nonprofit, so there's no profits there, but I do not get paid for the responsibility that I carry over there either. So anyway, the main company that we have, a publishing company called DaniJohnson.com, and we produce content that helps you make more money, gain more quality time in your life doing the things you want to do, so more time to do what you want, more business, more love, and a stronger spiritual foundation, a stronger spiritual life, and more fulfilling relationships everywhere. And so today I want to bring you something that I kind of encountered while I was on the ship down in Antarctica. And I did a lot of soul searching when I was down there. You know, it's kind of like the end of the year, and you just kind of, you know, you're kind of taking an inventory of where you're at. And it was just really perfect because I had quite a few pages still left to read to finish the Bible, which I believe is the best success book ever written. I was feasting every single day, and also getting like pounded, pretty much getting pounded by this amazing book, which is one of the reasons why I love it. So we're going to be in 1 Corinthians today, and we're going to be in chapter 1, 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 26. Let me ask you this. Are you looking for something to kind of focus on this year? Are you looking for something that is actually going to make a difference in your life as you focus on it? that you're looking for kind of a different result, I believe this is a message to kind of do a little bit of a reset for you personally. And so let's go ahead and just get right into it. This really impacted me on a day that I really needed the impact. So I hope that it impacts you the same way. Before I read, let's go ahead and pray. So Father, thank you for this sweet and amazing friend who is listening. Father, I pray that you bless the time that we have, albeit short, but I know that you know how to move mountains. I know that you know how to move the mountain of a heart. And Father, any place that is in either one of us that is hardened, that is stiff-necked, any one of our heart that is like stone, Father, I pray that you give us a heart of flesh. Father, I pray that you give us ears to hear. I want to hear you in a new way, and so does my friend that is listening. Father, I want to see you in a new way. I want spiritual eyes and spiritual ears in a greater way than anything I have ever experienced before. I want my entire life, and I want the life of he and she that is listening right now, that our entire lives, that we will experience something that we have never experienced throughout our entire lives, that this next season of our lives will be so evident that your thumbprint is all over it, that we have decided to just get as close as we possibly can, as humanly possible, to you, to your voice, to your spirit, and to your truth, and that our desires would be completely one with you, and that we're willing to lay down our own desires, and we're willing to hear you and willing to follow you, Father, as we see so many examples in the best success book ever written. So speak to us today. Fill our needs today. Fill us with your Holy Spirit today, and bless us today. Expand our territory today. Father, I bring healing where the healing needs to be brought. Bring clarity of mind where confusion is living. In fact, I bind that spirit of confusion right now in the name of Yeshua, Jesus the Messiah, that confusion, you have no right in this place. And I pray absolute clarity and loosen clarity from heaven directly into our physical bodies right now. In the name of Yeshua, amen. Okay, so here we go. And the lighting in here is not so great. Ha! So I'm gonna wear these. Okay. So verse 26. Actually, I'm gonna start at verse 25. No, let's start at 24. Let's start at 24. I think I can. No, I think I need them. Should have had my black ones. It says, but to them who are called, who Jews and Arameans, Mashiach is the energy of Elohim and the wisdom of Elohim. Elohim. Oh, by the way, so sorry, I don't want to confuse you. I'm reading from the Aramaic translation, and this is Aramaic to English. And this translation is the Aramaic is what the Second Testament, which you might call the New Testament, but it wasn't a New Testament. It was the Second Testament and writings after the Tanakh, which is the Hebrew word for the whole first half of the Bible, more than first half of the Bible, the originators of the Bible. And so you could get this at Amazon.com. I really recommend that you do. It makes things so more clear. Some of the translation, when it went from Aramaic to, which Aramaic, by the way, is very, very close to Hebrew. Same Hebrew letters, some of the same words, different dialect, if you will. And so when it went from Aramaic to Greek and then Greek to English, come on, you know, things get lost in translation. And so, and then not to mention, but the Greeks took God's name out of the Bible altogether, which is so heartbreaking to me. And so then, especially in the Second Testament, you don't know who they're talking about. Are they talking about Yeshua, Jesus, or are they talking about Yahweh, the creator of the heavens and the earth? And so when you get the Aramaic translation, it makes it very clear. Okay, so hold on, I just want to make sure and check on a couple of things. Yep, everything seems to be working. Okay, so so Elohim is the Hebrew word for God. And now what's so interesting about that is Elo, God, Him is plural. And so that's a very interesting thing, and that's a whole nother study for another time. Maybe I'll have my rabbi friend get on and we'll talk about that one day. But let's just go ahead and go here. So, but to them who are called, both Jews and Arameans. Your Bible might say Gentiles instead of Arameans, but they were talking specifically to the Arameans, which are, hello, this is the language that was written in Aramaic. It says Mashiach, which means Messiah, which means in Hebrew, anointed one, very similar to a king. Actually, the same word was used when Mashiach, in fact, Saul was called Mashiach, and so was King David. Each one of the kings, they were anointed, to be anointed. So it means the anointed one. Mashiach is the energy of Elohim and the wisdom of Elohim, because the foolishness of Elohim is wiser than men, and the weakness of Elohim is stronger than the sons of men. For look also at your calling, my brothers and sisters. Doesn't say that in there, but if you learn anything about the Hebrew culture, they absolutely celebrate women, and they do not leave them out at all. They believe actually that she is more connected to God because she does what she takes part in creation of humanity, and they feel that she has the sixth sense and she can hear him, and that men need more discipline in their prayers and need appointments for that kind of thing, but that women naturally tend to talk to God, which is really, really, really like profound to me and special that they believe that. It's one of the few cultures in the world that I feel really, really celebrate women in a beautiful, virtuous, and wonderful way, and they're not intimidated by women at all, versus some other cultures around the world, including one that we live in. Okay, so here we go. So look also at your calling. So I'm saying that to you. I'm reading that to you. I believe God is saying that to you right now. So look also at your calling, my brothers, that not many among you are wise according to the flesh, and not many among you are mighty, and not many among you are of high birth. But Elohim has chosen the foolish ones of the world to shame the wise. And he has chosen the weak ones of the world to shame the mighty. And he has chosen those of humble birth in the world, and the despised, and them who are nothing, to bring to nothing them who are something, so that no flesh might glory before him. And you, moreover, are of him in Yeshua Mashiach, who has become to us wisdom from Elohim, and righteousness, and set apartness, and salvation, according to that which is written, he that glorifies in himself, let him glory in our Master. Friend, when I was reading this, first of all, the first time I ever encountered this years and years ago, by faith, I said, I received this message. I received this because maybe you were born of humble birth. What does that mean? You weren't born of dignitaries, or you weren't born of royalty, or you weren't born into a rich family or a privileged family. And even in this, so we're looking at this people that Paul is talking about right now, right? So were you born weak? Were you born, hold on. So he has chosen weak ones. Wait, let me back up. All right. So I so identify with this, and maybe you don't identify with this, but I like crazily identify with this. For look also at your calling, my brothers, that not many among you are wise according to the flesh, and not many among you are mighty. So were you born stupid? I was. I had dyslexia until my mid-20s. I didn't read my first book, not late 20s. 2001 is when I got delivered from dyslexia, which was amazing. So let's go back here, friend. I was born with learning disabilities, lots of them. Born a female, obviously weaker than the male. So here, not many among you are wise according to the flesh. Not many among you are mighty. Not many among you are of high birth. Do you identify with that? Do you identify with that? Have you felt like, you were born in the wrong family? Maybe do you feel like you were born with everything wrong, that you were not born with everything right? And did you spend time even growing up comparing yourself maybe to people who lived a few blocks down? And because a few blocks down or a few blocks away, you know, the quality of the homes changed. Do you know what I'm saying? I spent most of my childhood in a 800 square foot little tiny home in Southern California. And it was old. Yeah, you know, 2 bedrooms. There were 5 of us living there, my sisters and my mom, and who I thought was my dad, and 1 little tiny bathroom, a small little kitchen, and you know what I'm saying? So, but you know, you go down a couple of blocks and like there's these big houses and these beautiful places, and people have nice furniture and they've got nice cars out front, and you know, versus the car that was out front where I grew up we named the car Alice, and it was an old white station wagon that had the wood paneling, and it had a big 2 big rust spots on the hood of the car because obviously the engine had blown up at one point. You know, and the windows would stick when you try to roll them down. The windshield wipers didn't work. I just remember my mom driving down the road in this gigantic boat, if you will, and you know, taking a rag and becoming the windshield wipers because the windshield wipers didn't work, which was hilarious. Not at the time, it was a little scary. And then of course the defog didn't work either, right? So fortunately it was Southern California, so you know, there wasn't a ton of cold, ice cold weather, or there certainly wasn't like snow on the ground. But nonetheless, so I so identify with this, you know, not being born of high birth and not being smart and not being strong. You know, I was beaten as a child. And so if you've ever felt weak, and if you've ever felt stupid, and if you've ever felt like, man, how come I couldn't have been born to a family that was rich? Or how come I couldn't have been born to a family that weren't drug addicts or weren't alcoholics? How come I couldn't have been born to a family who loved their kids and paid attention to them and helped them? You know, how come I couldn't have been born? Fill in the blanks. I don't know if you've ever been there before. Maybe you're that person that just had the most glorious and amazing childhood. That was not me. That wasn't my 2 sisters, and nor was it my mother, and nor was it my father. None of them had it. So they were doing the best they could with what they had been taught. And it turns out that my grandparents didn't either. So it was like a generational pain that was being passed down, and generational teen pregnancies, and generational poverty, and generational drug abuse or alcohol abuse. And so it was just, you know, one thing being passed down to the next. And so if that's how you have felt, you know, that you have, that you were born disadvantaged, that you had some major disadvantages according to where you might have been born, who you were born by, the traumas and the tragedies that happen. And this is what I love about this passage. It's what I absolutely love about it, and I hope you have ears to hear. Yeah. That he is the one who chooses that. That he chooses the foolish ones of the world to shame the wise. That he chooses the weak ones of the world to shame the mighty. And he has chosen those of humble birth in the world, and the despised, and them who are nothing, to bring nothing them who are something. So that no flesh might glory before him. And you, moreover, who are in Yeshua Mashiach, who has become to us wisdom from Elohim and righteousness and set apartness and salvation. Friend, this is so clear. It doesn't matter where you were born or the circumstances in which you were born in. It doesn't matter. What matters is, do you choose to receive that message? That if you were stupid like I was, and I still am stupid at times, and I still make some pretty stupid mistakes, and it always profoundly blows my mind when I think about, okay, so I didn't have the ideal place, but who cares? There are other people who had even worse childhoods and had even worse abuse and had even worse traumas that happened. None of that matters. Because we see right here in this book, what does he do with those despised people? What does he do with the weak? What does he do with the foolish? What does he do with those who are not wise? What does he do with them? He chooses that if the weak, if the stupid, if the unwise, if the foolish, if those of humble birth are willing to turn to Yeshua, to turn to the Mashiach, to turn to him and simply say, I need you. We also see in the same book where he says that anyone that needs wisdom, ask and I will give it to you. He says, ask according to his riches and not according to our needs. He says in Jeremiah 32:27 that I am the creator of the heavens and the earth. Is there anything impossible for me? And my answer every time I hear those words is no, there's nothing impossible for you. So friend, he has taken me who was nothing, and he's willing to take you as well if you see yourself as nothing. And so you've got to cross over from seeing yourself as nothing to seeing yourself as what? As that he chooses to use you. He chooses to use you to do what? To bring those who think there's something to nothing. And I believe this is the year that if you choose to believe the words that I just finished saying to you, and you choose to go back yourself and read 1 Corinthians 1, verse 25, actually verse 24, all the way to the end. If you choose to just marinate on that, you choose to chew that, you choose to just go, man, let me think about that. You choose to write it as I wrote it in my journal. And you choose to say, I receive this. I receive this. He's talking about me. He's talking about me. He's talking about me. I am foolish. He's talking about me. I am stupid. He's talking about me. I am weak. He's talking about me. I'm not of a high birth. And he's saying to me, I will use you to like cause those who are of a high birth to go, what? What? Come on, friend. The first time I ever went before a president of a nation, I was blown away that I was even in the room with that person and that person is seeking advice and that I've been called upon by governments. Come on, a girl that didn't even graduate from school. Come on, listen to me on what the power that God can do and that his word really is real and he really does what he said he's going to do. Okay, I'm a dyslexic kid and I've written 3 international best-selling books that are being taught in universities all over the world, books that have been translated in 8 different languages. Are you listening to me? 8 different languages these books have been translated in. Come on, the dumb girl in the class, the girl who cheated through school when it came time to book reports. Turn the book over. Copy what it said in there. I mean, I hate to say that's a terrible thing. It was a foolish thing. But what has he done? As I submitted myself before him and said, God, please use me. God, I need you. I need the Savior. I need Yeshua. Cover me of my sins. Take them all away. Deliver me all the things that I had to be delivered of. And so if he could take a homeless former whore who was broke in every form of the word, who did not have the so-called, leave it to beaver, white picket fence, childhood, if he can use that he's, listen to me, I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this to brag on him and to prove to you that he can do with you things that you cannot even imagine. His word even says that. It says that he will do immeasurably more than anything. Immeasurably means you cannot measure it. More than anything you could ever ask for, hope for, or even imagine. So what are you believing for this year? What are you believing for this year? Will you choose to dwell on this particular passage and to say, yes, I choose to believe. I choose to believe. I choose to believe. Will you then step out on that? Will you allow your imagination, to go and see the impossible? Because what would happen if he did with you what he's done with me? I never in a million years thought that I'd be called upon by governments to come and to train and to teach their citizens about money, about business. I never thought in a million years that I would be preaching all 4 services at Hillsong of all places, that Benny Hinn would have me on his show 25 times and then show the show at least 100 times since then. I never imagined that someone like Benny Hinn would have me actually take over his show for a week and have me be the host of his particular show that went to 210 nations. Come on, think about this. the most unpopular girl in school, the most unlikely person in the world to succeed, the dyslexic, okay, the foolish one, the fool who got pregnant, as a teenager, the fool who ended up meeting and marrying a guy that I knew for 7 days and ended up homeless, the fool who was embezzled not once, twice, 3 times, the fool. I've done so many crazy, foolish things. The fool who was doing all the drugs, the fool that was abusing alcohol, the fool who was terrible to her husband. Look at how awesome he is. Look at how amazing he is. He's willing to take the fool and lift that fool up and fill that fool with wisdom. He's willing to fill that fool with wisdom, and he's willing to take someone with no high birth and put them in places with those that have a high birth. And that there's people who are sitting around a table, politicians going, how can we help our city grow? How can we help our people get out of poverty? How can we help our people start businesses? What advice do you have, Dani Johnson? Like, you have a degree in economics and you're asking me this question? Are you hearing what I'm saying? He's an awesome God. Don't limit him. And don't limit yourself. And don't let everybody around you limit you. You need to get yourself around a community of people who believe the very thing that I'm talking about. You need to be around a people who are going to spur you on and hold you accountable to these particular words. Going to hold you accountable to helping you cross over from that foolish place and that weak place to a place of being mighty in him. And that place of being mighty in your business and being mighty in your finances and being completely debt free. You being mighty in your relationship with your spouse, being mighty with your kids and knowing exactly the path in which you should be doing. Aren't you sick and tired of not knowing? Aren't you sick and tired of finishing out years feeling more foolish than you did the year before? Aren't you sick and tired of finishing a year feeling more stuck than you did the year before? Then you're going to join me at First Steps to Success. You are going to right now go over to DaniJohnson.com and you are going to click on the events and you are going to click add to cart. Because it is your time. It is your time to step in from foolishness to wisdom. It is your time to step in from weak to mighty and strong. It is your time to go from low to the top. It is your time. And it's not going to happen just by hoping it'll happen, wondering if it'll happen, or praying it's going to happen. It is going to happen because you're going to get the skill set to make it happen. You're going to get the skill set that are outlined, the very skills that are outlined right in the Bible that has taken me from nothing to making millions and having my face and name go before millions, which is something I never thought would happen in a million years, okay? And not only me, but tens of thousands of our clients, thousands and thousands of our clients who are now debt-free, thousands of our clients who have now built successful careers and gotten promotions, doubling and tripling, quadrupling their income. I actually just heard a story of a girl yesterday, just a woman yesterday, who quadrupled her income last year. She hit every single event. It came to every single First Step Success last year, and she quadrupled her income. At the same time of getting herself trained, she quadrupled her income. So do not limit yourself. Go to DaniJohnson.com right now. Click on events. Click add to cart for First Steps to Success. Don't wait for it to be convenient for you. Don't wait for you to have the money for it. Borrow the money. I don't care if you have to borrow from 10 different people. I promise you, I will show you. Personally, I am going to show you how to become debt-free. I am going to show you how to increase your income. I'm going to show you how to get more love out of the relationships that you have that are driving you crazy. And I'm going to show you how to become so much more effective with your time and to get a whole lot more with a lot less time and to make more with less time. You want those things? I know you do. And in the meanwhile, on this journey, you're going to get closer and closer to God. You're going to find who you are. You're going to find who he created you to be. And you're going to be able to move past the things that have held you back and held you away from your calling. I want to see you released into that beautiful calling. And I am so excited to be able to link arms with you and head down on this journey and introduce you to this people who have gone before you already, who are waiting to meet you and waiting to spur you on. God bless you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I can't wait to see you face to face. Bye-bye.